people, their eyes would just widen. They're like, hey, can I use this? Can you sell me this? So I basically heard that enough times that I decided to do it.
Identify dangers and opportunities for their business as a VCIO, and your success is a byproduct of that success.
How do you enjoy working with your MSP? It's almost always the same answer. It's like, it's fine. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sunny. It's a pleasure to be here.
It was so great to meet you in person at Paxate, but prior to that was in Vancouver during the mastermind. But when I visited your office space, it gave me a lot more clarity on, and then one word, when I reflected on your journey after visiting you, Chris, I'm like, Chris is entrepreneur of the entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's never easy, is it?
Yeah.
And we all have that in common.
Yeah. So can you share your journey? Every entrepreneur has so much uniqueness, and you are like super, super unique in the MSP space, especially. There are not too many MSP entrepreneurs with that level of success. So we would love to learn from your journey.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll try to keep it fairly concise, but I think I don't know that I really started much differently than most folks that kind of got into IT services. Maybe a little bit. I had completed sort of my first job after university. I worked for a company called F5, who you may know, a sort of load balancing company, a Cisco competitor, now very huge infrastructure provider. So I had spent 3 years with them. I lived in the UK. I traveled the world and was basically started out as a sales engineer, solutions engineer type role back in the days when there was really no Zoom or Teams or anything like that. It was everything was face to face. So I was flying all over the world, going into boardrooms and talking about very complicated tech to IT departments of Fortune 500 companies. And so that's really where I cut my teeth in the space. I'd always been interested in tech, even through university. I did microbi at school. But I was the sort of resident IT nerd at the campus, and I was the one setting up, online multiplayer games in our dorms and all that stuff during that time. So, long story short, after 3 years with F5, I came back to Canada and started. I had the company went public through that period, and so I was fortunate enough to have a lucky exit with stock options through that process. And I didn't have the vision of an MSP back then, but I did identify that small businesses were not getting the advantages, specifically with this sort of high-end stuff that we were doing and selling to these large enterprises. I kind of realized that the tech that SMBs had access to was so poor, and then was fortunate enough to scale that. I think I was early in the mindset of recurring revenue. I used to charge, $100 a month for a VPN link. And that meant that we managed the VPN link. And so, as I got 30, 40 customers, I started to get that kind of first of the month revenue coming in. And that was before managed services. And then sort of over time that parlayed into block time. And we got away from break fix, we got away from consulting, and we went full MRR. And then through that journey, grew a lot, met a business partner. We kind of merged two companies of around 40 employees at the time. So I kind of got to see the whole gamut from one person to 500 person MSP, tons of M&A, tons of transformation in the industry. The pivot from break fix to managed, I was right in that. The pivot to cloud, I was right in that. And then obviously, we've got a few more pivots ahead of us here as well. So That was kind of my MSP story.
I think one piece where as an MSP entrepreneur, you also solved one of the biggest problem in the space, that was documentation, right? So I owned an MSP in New York City. I know we always struggled with documentation and overall operational maturity because of not having things in one place. Can you talk to me about
Yeah.
you solving that problem a little bit? How did you come up with the idea? What inspired you there?
Yeah, so very inefficiently at first. So I definitely recognized that problem early on. I think as we were scaling, that the obvious issues of training staff and making sure that if another technician needed to work on a customer that they had no familiarity with, they could get the job done. Um, that was a big problem, and like everybody else, we were solving it with spreadsheets and documents and OneNote, or whatever the OneNote equivalent, Notepad probably back then. Um, but when I say very inefficiently, I think it was around 2008. We actually we had my brother and another, we'd hired some more folks to assist. We basically built the precursor to IT Glue in my MSP starting in around 2008. And so we actually were spending, I don't know, I'd like to say 200,000 or 300,000 a year, uh, just for our own internal documentation app. That's how important, we thought it was. And then what spawned my transition from MSP to software was HTG and service leadership, both of which I was first in HTG at the time, and then eventually service leadership, and I was in Paul Dippel's group. And eventually it came up like, hey, how are you guys doing this stuff? And so I would just pull up basically the interface that we had built, this software, internal software app, and people were just like, their eyes would just widen, and they're like, hey, like, can I use this? Can you sell me this? And so I basically heard that enough times that I decided to do it. And it was fortunate that I'd done an acquisition, another company in Vancouver, and the CEO of that MSP actually was better than me at my job in the MSP. So around 2013, this is Joel Abramson, who now works with me, and he's meant as a managing partner at Top Down. And at the time, I said, Joel, you got to take over as CEO. I'm going to do this software thing, and that was 2013. I guess we could call it luck, or maybe preparation and a little bit of luck to sort of have a category of software that was just absent.
Yeah.
Like there was no such thing uh, in the space. Like people didn't think they needed a tool for that, and now obviously I think people have a different perspective on documentation. So yeah, I think that was a bit of luck, but it was also the fact that we had so much success with it internally that I just knew, like, if everybody had this, it would sort of elevate the industry and people would do better.
Yeah. So I think the one way to look at this probably is that I can relate to that piece. The business that we are in normally, there's always friction, and if we can look for that friction and then be friction fuel
Yes.
to solve that problem, then I think marketplace always we have some common problems or common friction areas. Everyone is looking for fuel, and it's just entrepreneurs where they think like, okay, removing friction and creating that fuel, they are on the winning side because like for my MSP, Chris, as a small MSP with about 6-7 people, we were challenged to deliver US service standards to Wall Street customers like hedge funds. Being a MSP there in 2007, I started my MSP in 2003.
Yeah.
And I looked at that as a friction that, okay, how do you build 24/7 capability within New York City where it's hard to find people to work during daytime, but how do you deliver 24/7 quality services with nighttime staffing and weekend staffing? And I'm
Yeah.
like, I have this unique strength of being well versed in India and here because being born here, but being raised at Wall Street, knowing the service standards, knowing the culture there, the knock that we built was built for our own use.
Yes.
In HTG, in TBG that I was part of, some of my peers, they started, hey, can I use this? Can I use this? And then that became like the fuel that was created for ourselves to remove that friction for the customer. And that was borrowed by some of our friends, and as a go-giver, I gave it to them, and that became a product for MSPs. And now we have 400 plus MSPs using NOC and Helpdesk and IT.
Yeah.
So I think I see the same connection there, that you solve something for your own business, but did
Yeah.
things very differently than others, knowing your unique strengths, and that
Yeah.
became a capability for the entire marketplace.
It's funny, as you say that, I kind of think, probably your unique strength back in those days wasn't necessarily like you had to go figure all that out. Like you knew the market, the remote market, but setting up something of this nature was new to you. Just probably similar to me setting up a software business the first time. Yes, I'd run businesses before, but I'd never done a software business. And yes, it's recurring revenue, but it's quite different
Yeah,
when you're doing it, for a large number of customers at the same time. So
yeah.
that's fascinating. It's funny. It's the exact same kind of situation.
Yeah, and I think all you need in that situation is that entrepreneurial spirit with quick start,
Yeah,
and being able to make a bigger choice that a lot of people won't make. Right, so dealing
totally.
with uncertainty of me getting to know India more, because I never worked there. I was born there, and then
Yeah.
you figuring out your SaaS platform. My
Yeah.
my question here is, like, from your entire journey, what is the greatest lesson that you want to share with other entrepreneurs?
It's a really good question. I think I would probably have to go with, you know, relentless perseverance.
Hmm.
It's not for the faint of heart because if you're going to try something or take a big swing, uh, it never quite goes it never quite goes the way you expect, and it always takes a lot longer. Sort of like doing a renovation to your home. It costs twice as much and takes twice as long, right? And so I think the sort of relentless perseverance would probably be the thing that got me through it. And I think it's not necessary. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have that in common, but a lot of entrepreneurs also um, maybe don't persevere
Hmm.
enough, and it might just take longer, and it might just be harder than you expected, and sort of like giving up is just not in my DNA, I guess.
Yeah, and perseverance is so one thing that I shared a couple of weeks ago was adversity. That
Adverse.
adversity is it's just like protein for growth,
Yes, totally.
right? So you cannot go below it, you cannot go above it, you have to go through it.
Yes.
That's where you need that perseverance.
Yeah.
And I was reading something here on my at my desk, which was because I have these. It's so relevant to this what you just said. It says uh, so every day there's a new quote, but from July 15th, it was the moment you are ready to quit is usually the moment right before a miracle happens.
And there you go. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Keep calm and carry on. That's it. That's it.
yeah. That's a great phrase.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, you are a thought leader in the MSP space, and you have, as part of YPO, you see a lot of other businesses, very diverse backgrounds of entrepreneurs. What are your thoughts on that? Dangers, opportunities, and strengths.
I sometimes get a bit of an adverse reaction to the word growth, and I think a lot of people think that growth means just adding new customers, and I think that's been a bit of a sort of our industry has been inundated with that, right? Like sell more MRR, get more deals, and I think, and you might agree with this or you might disagree. The one that I think we've been chasing for 20 years plus is this idea of the trusted advisor, and I think that's where the gold lies. And I think it's extremely relevant in the context of what's happening in the world today. Um, we wouldn't be able to run a podcast without saying, AI, right? So we'll say AI now and get that out of the way. But with the rise of AI as an example, I just think we need to get there much more quickly. We need to get into the mindset of a consultative advisor approach, a strategic partner approach as an MSP with our customers. And I think, the uncomfortable truth that exists If you ask a typical customer of an MSP, which I've done this many times, by the way, not even knowing who their MSP is, and you just say kind of, how's the experience? How do you enjoy working with your MSP? It's almost always the same answer. It's like, it's fine. It's not bad,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think we've been relegated to this plumber role. And the plumber role is necessary. It's not to say that the plumber roles shouldn't be there, and we need to maintain things and upgrade things and implement things. Um, but I think the strategic advisor role, sort of being in the boardroom and helping customers to look around the next corner and plan for what's coming, and AI is a great example of that. Um, it still feels like we're fairly far away from that for the average MSP, and I think that pivot can be made fairly quickly if we start to kind of reframe how we engage with customers, make sure we have the right people at the table, show up to the boardroom and have the right conversation or ask the right questions. This is an area where most MSPs would self-select that we're not great at that. And I'm not saying this is not a 5-person or 50-person or 200-person MSP problem. This is an all MSP problem. And
Yeah.
it's funny, actually, the 5-person MSP where the CEO directly engages with the CEOs of the companies they support actually do this the best in some cases
Yes.
because they get that personalized, high level strategic value conversation. So I think that's the biggest threat to losing business is that somebody else comes in and provides a better quality service there. But I also think it's the biggest opportunity because I think it's fairly easy to reframe that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Reflecting on what you just said, that it's not break fix anymore. We have to go from break fix to boardroom. That trusted advisor, that thought leadership, that is the game. That is the way forward. If we still going to take that plumber role, and even plumber role, we are very reactive, and it's not a very quality plumber role, then
Totally.
that's a really, really not a good posture to have as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a minimum that we should do. That whoever we are, whatever we want to be, but be the best. Now, I have done 15 masterminds in the round tables, and you sat down in one of the round tables. And now, before Build It, we have done environmental scan. We have done surveys that, hey, to map of content and breakouts and main stages with the right content need. And every single person that I was talking to, they're like, Sunny, enough is enough about AI. I have been
Yeah.
hearing AI at every conference, but what happens is it's a very visionary villa. And I understand that AI is here, AI is going to be big, and I am 100% aligned with AI is going to be big, and I need to do something here. But suddenly, no one is talking to me about what to do. Like, what can I do as MSP to monetize AI, for example? What can I do to transform my business with this the new AI movement that we're going through? My question is, what are the opportunities that you see for the channel when it comes to leveraging AI to grow and scale?
Yeah, that's that obviously, if you're like me, your inbox, your DMs, your email, Slack, whatever, Teams is all inundated with AI links and articles and the next unicorn that became a unicorn in 6 months or whatever. All these things are coming to us daily.
Yeah.
Uh, I do agree that I think that there's a certain amount of anxiety that's coming with how fast this is moving, and I think we all feel it because like I don't want to be behind, and I think there is a fair bit of that fear being spread that if you're going to be left behind if you don't jump on this immediately. And I think, the real valuable use cases are going to take a bit of time. And I think, like you said, practical AI, and, even in your, mastermind session that I attended, it was clear, I thought I was pretty advanced with my use of just, generative AI with ChatGPT. And I learned pretty quickly that like, hey, I'm barely scratching the surface of what I can do with just that one tool. the practical AI side for the MSPs internally is a phenomenal use case. I think the one that is perhaps the bigger opportunity is thinking about how MSPs can become the shepherds for SMB AI, because it's hard enough for us as with a technology background to try to get our arms around. We don't even have our arms around it ourselves, and yet we're getting demands from SMBs who are asking, for help with this, and they want, they're finding all these great new tools, and they want to automate everything. Um, so I think that that's a huge, huge opportunity if we can become the AI shepherds for the SMBs. I think that's massive.
Yeah.
That by itself could be $5,000 a month
Yeah.
using, just five simple prompts or whatever. That knowledge is not out there yet.
No, 100%. And especially that, even simple things like talking, not typing, to what we learned in that 30 minutes. It was just in 30 minutes. And then experts type of prompt, right? So I've been using it from day one, and it helped us a lot. My leaders, everyone, and surrounded by a lot of advisors now. Everyone, this what I have experienced from 15 masterminds, and when I talk to people, and also a lot of experts that I'm surrounded with, and a lot of people are coming to build it now. They are just a couple of steps ahead of the last person or the user. They're not
That's right.
like they can call themselves experts, but they are just few steps ahead of the other person. And this is not something like it's like a back in the days. This year when I climbed Mount Everest, back in the days, the first person to go to Mount Everest probably didn't have Sherpa who has been there. And so that just that Sherpa probably was few steps ahead of the other person. But
That's
now
right.
when I
Yeah.
was there, a lot of people, like I asked my Sherpa, like, I'm like, how many times you've been to the base camp? And he said 100 times. I
Wow.
go, I have gone, and I go like, I think 25 times or something, like twice a year. I go to the base camp, like take different groups.
Oh,
And but
cool.
the point that I'm making is that in this whole journey towards the summit, AI summit,
Yeah.
we have probably a couple of other groups. They are just few steps ahead of us, and everyone is figuring it out how to go to the summit.
Yeah.
And if you can just be that, right, just keep that, then that is probably fuel for your AI anxiety as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. That hey, no one knows. Like everything, everyone is making things up. You can make things up too. Everyone is
No.
trying to make those things real. You can make it up and make it real. And then
Yeah.
everyone will then make it repeatable. So you can make it up, then make it real and make it repeatable.
Yeah. I think that's sort of my same thinking is as far as, an MSP working with an SMB, they're no matter what they bring to the boardroom, they're going to feel the SMB is going to feel like they're two or three steps ahead. I think there's a lot of promise here because we know that this is like there's massive inefficiencies with SMBs. Forget the IT support, just the SMBs running their business, dealing with customers, handling RFPs, dealing with analyzing data and all the things that are like extremely manual for SMBs. I think there's tons and tons and tons of those use cases.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, yeah, MSPs are like absolutely the best option to help navigate those opportunities.
Yes, 100%. And I do believe that, I mean, there are a lot of MSPs, 50 plus companies are coming over $20 million MSPs to build it. So, but the
Yeah.
point that I'm making is there are hundreds of MSPs where they have done well for themselves, especially in the last 20 years. And now there is an opportunity to create that success in billionaires. So, how about if we go from break fix to the boardroom that you mentioned and then billionaires?
Totally. That's a
Maybe.
good next step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also, let's put AI aside. I think the two main issues I see in the space is net profit not being high enough. And yeah, sure, is AI going to help with that? It's kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Maybe, but not short term. There's still fundamental things, looking at your margins and saying, "Hey, can I throw 5% extra to the bottom line or even more just by making a shift in how we deliver service here?"
Yeah.
Um, there's also things that the compliance. And this is like, I don't know if you're seeing this, but we're seeing it. It's like we obviously have a compliance product, a GRC product at ScalePad, and it's the fastest growing product by a long shot. It's the idea that these industries are getting regulated. Customers, want to feel safe. They want to they want to have a target for being best in class in their industry. And we're seeing that starting to move the needle. Like, hey, MSPs have always had a really strong opinion about what customers should do, but hey, now we have a standard that, hey, don't you want to be like the standard? And now, talk about, that's a great conversation for the boardroom. And that's a service that I'm seeing MSPs are taking their MRR and almost doubling it just by offering sort of a VCSO or compliance as a service type offering. And then the other one, I think, which is just the financial metrics of the MSPs in general, is I think the most people think that 15% growth year over year is great. That seems to be the industry average. And I would love to see us change that perspective. Like, what, 15%? Like, and the reason it's 15% is that we haven't nailed expansion. We haven't figured out how to bring services like compliance or like an AI service or workshop or anything that we can add, like a advanced security stack, all these things where we can grow our accounts and then impact our growth rate and impact our bottom line. I think nothing to do with AI. It's just good old running a business. And so I think there's still a ton of work that needs to be done there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you made a really important point that the net profit to the example that you used with the $5 million MSP versus bigger MSP. So let's say 5 million at 20%
Exactly.
EBITDA versus 10 million at probably 2% EBITDA or 5%. At the end
Yeah.
of the day, enterprise value is what matters, right?
Totally.
And enterprise value you create by more focused on EBITDA in the service business, and if you can do a little bit more in terms of what you can do with now at Backseat, we learned about digital labor
Yes.
to cost low cost talent markets, the global talent access to creating some IP, thinking unique way of running your service desk to anything that you do as MSP. So if you can think a little bit IP, think a little bit EBITDA. You don't have to be the biggest revenue MSP. You need to be the right enterprise value MSP.
That's right. And I think obviously without getting too much into the ScalePad story, this is what's next for me and what I'm most passionate about for the industry, is fixing this what we call customer success. And I think what the industry called VCIO for the last 20 years is what we realized, and I think most people realized it's not, it hasn't been accomplished.
Yeah.
And so we need to fix that. We need to get really, really, really good at getting in front of customers with the right cadence at the right time, with the right message and the right conversation and the right questions, and building that into a system. So it's not best effort. It's part of the service. And if we do not do that reliably, then we are just a plumber. And if we're just a plumber, then they're going to find a cheaper, faster plumber.
Yeah.
Because that to me is so exciting, because if we're successful in that, then the entire industry grows enormously,
Yeah.
and people's growth rates go up, and SMBs grow, and all of us grow together. Um, and I think we're doing a disservice to the SMBs by not giving them this reliably.
Yes.
It's almost like I signed up for support, I signed up for backup, and I signed up for strategy, and you guys are giving me one or two out of the three.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And that next step altitude has to be higher. for you
Yes.
to move towards something bigger. So what I'm hearing you say is that don't take the next step as a plumber. If you want to go to that trusted advisor, go to the boardroom, your activity level needs to change. And that activity needs to go from ticket to trusted advisor. Because in the new economy that is coming our way, you need to be a thought leader. You need to be able to give that strategic advice to your customer, right? And your solution gives them a platform, a tool to think about their thinking of how they can move from ticket to a transformational MSP.
If there's one word that sums it up, it is impact.
Mm,
Think about how we can make a measurable impact for a customer. And if that's successful, uh, that creates a growth loop for you. It's just that simple. Make impact, build trust, get to make another impact. And I think that's what I call the growth loop. That's what's absolutely missing uh, in our space. It definitely needs some technology, which obviously ScalePad has an answer for, to help run these programs.
yeah.
But it's more important than buying anything from ScalePad. It's more just like having an aha moment. Very similar to what I said with documentation. I don't care if you buy IT glue or not. Um, but can we agree that this is a significant issue? And if you have another better way to solve it, please do. But let's solve it because it's better for the industry if we solve this. SMBs are going to grow. If SMBs grow, MSPs are going to grow, and all of us, that service MSPs are going to grow as well.
Yeah,
So
100%. So what I'm hearing you say, Chris, is that focus on impact. So if I'm MSP listening to this, I need to focus on more VCIO, more thought leadership, helping your customers identify dangers and opportunities for their business as a VCIO and their strengths to help them be successful. And your success is a byproduct of that success.
yeah, and it's funny, like just to make it really real. And this was what I caught myself in this. I thought I was the best VCIO ever back in the day, but when was the last time you walked into a medical facility? You had the COO in the room or the CEO in the room, and you asked something like, "What's your patient intake process look like? Talk to me about that."
Yeah.
And a very simple question that they say, "Oh man, yeah, these iPads, they suck. But the Wi-Fi doesn't work properly. That like whatever that is, it's the slowest, most painful system. We have people sitting all over the place. Nobody knows, whatever. Those types of open-ended questions that are industry specific, they open so many doors for impact.
Yeah.
Oh, if we could fix that, would that be meaningful? Because I can come back and do figure out a solution to that thing, and that sounds like that's a goal that you have, is to fix your client intake process.
Yeah.
And now anything we want to connect to the client intake process is monetizable and it value creating for the SMB.
Yes, 100%. And Chris, where can people find you if I'm listening to this podcast? And what's the best way for me to find Chris?
The best way to find me, I would say, is LinkedIn. So you just find me, Chris Day, on there, and I'd love to connect with anybody in the MSP space. I share lots of opinionated ideas on there on a weekly basis, and so whether you like or dislike, I love the feedback. So
Yeah.
that's my favorite, and for some reason I can stay on top of it. So
And if you cannot find Chris on LinkedIn, then and if you're coming to Build It Live, Chris will be there. He's on our main stage as our thought leader, and he has very diverse experience as an entrepreneur. Been there, done that on both sides, because you have lived your life as MSP from F5 to MSP to then on the vendor side, and now you have created something which will help MSPs go top down as part of their client strategy.
yeah,
Top down is helping MSPs go top down with their strategies.
I
Their
love it.
their go to market should be top down. Top down. And so come to Build It. If you want to meet Chris, he's going to be there. He would love to sit down with you one on one, just to share our experiences. He's going to be at the main stage with a lot of other amazing entrepreneurs. There will be 50 plus platform companies, and Build It, and 550 plus MSP leaders. This is the only conference where, because we are not tool agnostic, we are not helping people get certified on a tool certification. So we invite everyone because we work in every tool. So no matter if they're using ConnectWise or Kaseya or Halo or Enable or Ninja, all of those partners going to be there, and all of those MSPs using different tools going to be there. If you are available on August 4th, 5th, 6th, come join us. Come join Chris, and he will be there. Thank you, Chris, for your partnership. I respect you a lot, my friend. So much love for you, so much respect for you, and I look forward to seeing you at Build It.
Thanks, Sunny. I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Thank you for watching Sunny's Silver Linings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.